Hey, it's Mike here, and today, Happy New Year. I forgot to say it in the last video, late as usual, there you go. And today I'm going to be doing predictions for 2020, just for fun. It's not going to be super serious. It could be the worst video I've ever made, so you could just stop watching now. I'm kidding. Anything vegan related is fair game here. I'm trying to make educated guesses, so I'm open to being completely wrong about my predictions, but it might be fun to look back on later, just in case I get 1 out of 10 things right, and I can feel like I predicted well. You know, the predictions are gonna range from crazy vegan food tech stuff to new vegan health studies or societal trends and attitudes toward veganism, all that stuff. And I will say, 2020 has already been a pretty good year for vegan stuff. The Golden Globe served a vegan meal, and Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor, and in his acceptance speech, called out the connection between animal agriculture and climate change, which was great.
First, I'd like to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press for recognizing and acknowledging the link between animal agriculture and climate change. It's a very bold move, making tonight plant-based.
And I wrote a sloppy note here for Joaquin, and it wants to auto-correct to John Quill. Official prediction number 1, the animals will be saved by our new vegan messiah, John Quill. I don't know. But also, Starbucks added Oatly to its menu in the US, which is a great addition. That's an oat milk that's amazing if you haven't had it. And also, Veganuary's been huge, 350,000 signups. I think that's a new record. So things are going pretty good. I want to start by saying I made predictions and then I looked them up just to make sure I wasn't an idiot and actually predicting something that already happened. A post-diction, if you will. I'll start off with one that did already happen, so it's not a real prediction, and that is that veganism will become a protected belief in 2020, and it turns out, lo and behold, from this Guardian article, quote, an employment tribunal has ruled that ethical veganism is a philosophical belief that is protected by law against discrimination. Now, to be clear, this was in the UK under their Equality Act of 2010, and so it appears to mean that you can't be fired for being vegan. There's a caveat, though. They might be able to just overturn it whenever they want, but still, great step in the right direction. And for some background, this vegan dude claimed that he was fired for expressing his vegan beliefs, and I do know people that it's pretty clear they were fired for being vegan, and so the result is that it went into this trial. So full disclosure, I knew about this trial and the ongoing discussion around it, so it was my prediction, my hope, that there would be some type of ruling around the protected belief aspect, and it turns out there already has been, so that's awesome. Now if only the US could get on board with some of this too. United States, if I get drafted to go to Iran, there better be some hummus. That's all I'm saying. But seriously, no war, please. I'm very against war. All right, now for my first prediction, which hasn't happened yet, I don't think, and that is in the realm of health studies. And I feel like I should whip out that guy. What's his name? Zoltar? I should do a Zoltar for this one. My friend, we are going to see a release of Alzheimer's studies. What accent is that? I think his accent is fake anyway. That was exactly the amount of bad that I wanted it to be, but I've heard from Dr. Ornish and just following the couple's Shirzai, the neurologists, Mr. and Mrs. Shirzai, that there are some Alzheimer's studies that are hopefully going to come out soon, and so it is my prediction that they will come out in 2020. We know that Alzheimer's is a vascular disease. We're talking about clogged brain arteries. I have a whole video on it, and we have studies showing the improvement of artery function, opening up of arteries, and reversal of heart disease. So in theory, a whole food plant-based diet could do wonders for Alzheimer's. The question becomes, you know, maybe it can be prevented, but can it be reversed at all? To what extent? Can you get a little bit of memories back? No memories back? I just want to know. I want to know, guys. It's also the 5th leading killing disease in the US. Anyway, I was looking for some other studies that might be coming out when I was searching for this one, and I found that there was one coming out on obesity in children and a plant-based diet, which I think could be really promising, especially because the broad study had such an effective weight loss result in obese people. There's also one coming out on breast cancer and a plant-based diet, so hopefully that'll help with outcomes, we'll see. But back to Zoltar, let's be honest, if somebody hacked the machine and made Zoltar vegan, it would make for some really good hidden camera shots.
Hey Dad, I'm gonna ask Zoltar, hey Zoltar, what's my future?
You will continue eating corpses like the little carnist bitch you are, Jimmy. Mic drop. WatchTheMinion.com.
Ah! I think he's broken, Dad.
Just turn them off and on again, son. Next, let's go ahead and make some predictions about the 2020 dietary guidelines. This is the years 2020 to 2025, deep into the future. And so they've had those public hearings going on. They're doing scientific review. They're going to come out with the results sometime. For Canada, it was like April, so I don't know when. And I'm a mix between optimistic and pessimistic here. I think there's going to be some improvements in terms of recommending plant-based alternatives, but I'm still predicting that the animal agriculture industry and their lobbying money is going to continue to separate things. Now, right now it says eat less saturated fat. Nobody really knows what that means. The main source, of course, is animal fat, and the idea is to help with cholesterol, but they obscure it, they separate it on purpose. They also have the My Plate chart, which still says dairy. Hopefully they'll change that. All right, now into the realm of the ever-expanding tech food, vegan stuff, or just meat replacements in general, like lab-grown/cultured meat. My prediction here is that lab-grown meat will become available to the consumer in 2020, probably to a limited extent, like those high-end restaurants like Impossible Meat was at first, and we have had certain companies claim that they're going to have a 2020 release. In fact, Just Foods was kind of mentioning that it could happen in 2019, but they did have the caveat that it depends on the regulations. I think judging by how they're able to give a piece of their lab-grown chicken to pretty much any journalist that goes in there, they're probably pretty close to getting enough supply to do 1 or 2 restaurants. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the main hurdle is FDA and USDA classifying this. Is it gonna be meat? It's not from a living animal, so is it an animal product? What do we do there? So my prediction, we'll see, is that they will make a verdict on that and it will become available in 2020. But it's the government, who knows? They can be really slow. Now the government's definitely gonna try and draft me, but you know what? I can't go because I have kale spurs. And now for the next prediction, which again I made and then I did some research on later just to make sure I wasn't a total idiot. And that is that the vegan gelatin or sort of cultured gelatin and milk proteins are gonna be able to come into the food supply in 2020. So when I Googled it, it turns out that Geltor, the cultured gelatin company, is going to enter the supply in 2020. That's their claim at least. In case you're wondering about how that is done, it's the same thing as vegan insulin or the soy heme that's in the Impossible Burger. They get yeast to ferment and create that byproduct. And as for the milk proteins, I definitely have problems with milk proteins and how they react with the body in general and how they are not healthy, but at least the people who will refuse to give them up would have a hope of replacing them without harming animals. You could still be slamming down that whey protein without slamming the heart of a cow mom who just had their baby taken away, okay? And research there, Perfect Day, the company that's doing the cultured milk proteins, also claims a 2020 supply. So we'll see what happens. They got $140 million. So, and zooming out, I think 2020 is going to be the year of the chicken replacement on a wider scale. 2019 was really the year of like the beef and burger replacement. We had that Impossible Burger, the Beyond Meat burger being super widespread. But with that little KFC test that allegedly did really well with their vegan chicken, hopefully it can then become wide scale as well. We'll see. But I'm really hoping for that because chicken is the most consumed animal in the world, and in the US, definitely the most consumed animal as well. And also reflecting back on 2019, I think it was a very health-focused year. We had the game changers, and you should watch Vegan 2019 on Plant-Based News if you want to get a really good synopsis of a bunch of vegan events that happened in 2019. Really well made. But after that, now that I feel like people are getting more of a sense that they can be healthy on a vegan diet, a lot of people who might have wanted to be doing it for the animals but had that sort of barrier to entry with health, I think are gonna finally enter the movement a little more. So 2020 could be a more ethical year in terms of the whole vegan movement. I'd also add that I think it's gonna be a pretty environmental year as well. We're having all these natural disasters, which are clearly linked to climate change. I mean, Australia had their hottest year on record and their driest year on record, and they had massive droughts. That's climate change driven to a certain extent. So with the focus we're gonna have on climate change this year, I think the vegan aspect will become huge. Joaquin already opened with that, and if Greta wants to talk a little more about her vegan diet, then it definitely will be big. And then in terms of the animal agriculture industry response, I think they're gonna continue to try and target labeling laws and standards of identity, like, oh, milk, meat, and cheese replacements shouldn't be called meat. You know, and we've already had indication a couple years back that the Cattlemen's Beef Association is gonna try and block lab-grown meat from being called meat and so forth. If it were up to them, I think all these vegan alternatives would probably just be called fibrous plant emulsions. You know it's true. You know it. But I think they're gonna go specifically after things like the vegan egg shouldn't be called eggs and so forth. You get it. And I do, unfortunately, have an inkling that animal agriculture is gonna try and legally respond to these open rescues that have been happening. They're probably gonna try and push some bills like animal terrorism bills, of course, which are against vegan activists. Hopefully not. That's sort of something I'm afraid of happening. Another prediction will probably have, you know, another ex-vegan or so, a high-profile one, making a big stink about it. But the reality is, looking back onto 2019 and that happening, it seemed like we were losing a bunch of people going ex-vegan. But the reality is that if you look at when they actually stopped being vegan, because they were lying about it for so long, different periods of months. They all just came out once the dam was broken at a certain time, and so it made it seem like it was more intense than it was. But we haven't had a huge continued ex-vegan wave, and I will definitely say all of that was outweighed by the scores of people who have been going vegan and reversing their diseases. Just because they're not famous, you don't hear about them. All right, now for something that's less than a prediction and more of a hope. I just hope that in the year 2020, people will stop making that stupid joke, how do you know if someone's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. It's old. It's not funny. Last prediction, maybe this is a fun one. Maybe one of those ex-vegans will actually end up trying a vegan diet again. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. All right, any last predictions maybe? Maybe how about you, Zoltar?
Yes, you will like this channel and subscribe to this video.
Damn it, Zoltar, that's not how YouTube works. I guess you were born in the 60s. Boomer.
Yeah, well, I unsubscribed from this video.